This episode is sponsored by Agent CRM. If you're in sales and tired of paying 3, 4, or 5 different companies for your email, CRM, funnels, phone, follow-up automation, check out Agent CRM. It's an all-in-one tool that combines all that you need to reach out, nurture, and close your clients. They've got weekly support calls so you can get up and running in no time. Get a free 14-day trial by going to the link below in the show notes. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Dan with the Intentional Entrepreneur Podcast. I have a very special guest with me today. She is a business owner, mother, and community leader. She's involved with projects such as Souply and Clinic 360 that help with the pandemic response here in Orange County. I do want to welcome to my show my friend, Linda Nguyen.
Hi, thanks for having me, Dan.
My pleasure. And we got connected through one of the community organizations that we were serving on. But you have your hands in a lot of different things. But before we get to the topic of parenting and business ownership, can you share a little bit about your journey and how you got to where you're here today?
Oh, wow, it's been quite a journey. I went to the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising. Thought I wanted to work in fashion for the rest of my life. It was a dream as a little girl.
Mhm,
And sometimes your life takes you in different directions. And
mhm.
I met somebody who um, got me into healthcare. And I've been in healthcare for quite some time, over 15 years. And then I fell into entrepreneurship over the pandemic. Yeah, and I got really involved in the local business community, and I love it. I enjoy it. I love building my network and meeting such inspirational people in the community.
All right, thank you. And I obviously we're connected on social media, and you posted or you shared an article that you were quoted in from inkfile.com, and that was one of the reasons why I want to reach out to you because it's one of this particular issue is very near and dear to my heart. And so for those of you, and I'll post a link in our show notes, but it's about parenting and setting boundaries as a business owner with your children. And we do obviously you have you do have a daughter that you work with closely. So can you share a little bit about your thoughts as a parent and a business owner, how to really make sure that relationship is really strong, both on the business side, but most importantly as a parent child relationship.
Yeah. So my story is as a single parent and an
Mhm,
entrepreneur. Just single parenting is there's the challenge of my daughter relying solely on me, and she was forced to grow up a little bit faster, mature a little bit faster, and be a lot more independent. And part of
mhm,
it was because I had to work and I didn't have the option where, I had a partner that allowed me to be um, a part-time employee and then a full-time
mhm,
mom.
mhm.
So I do have to be a full-time, I do have to work full-time and provide for her. And um, it was important to me to find a way to be able to spend time with her as well as spending quality time with her. And at the time, I didn't know any other way other than to, and I'm sure a lot of people have the same story. It's, bring your child to work, and and teaching her, real world life skills was really important to me in building her independence. And it's one of the best things I could say I've done, but there's also a terrible guilt that I feel um, because I think some days I feel that I took a part of her childhood from her, where she was, especially during the pandemic when we
Mhm.
started 360 Clinic, she worked so closely beside me. Um, we grew the business so fast that we needed help. And any help we can get, she built our website and did our branding, our graphics. And there are days, there are proud moments and there's moments of guilt. But the one thing that I am glad I've done is teach her real world life skills and be able to pay her under my business. It's a great feeling. And having her file taxes and know what it's like to be an adult. She got a tax return and she was so happy.
Well, you haven't told her like you're just overpaying the government and they're giving
Yeah.
you your own money back.
Yeah,
But
well,
it's but check in the mail or direct deposit. That's not always bad, and it's a nice
yes, she got the
it's
state refund, the
uh,
federal refund. She was so excited. She was like, "What is this, Mom?" And I said, "You don't blow it on a handbag."
so, um, if you don't mind, you did talk about having a little bit of guilt, and I think
Mhm.
that's important. I think maybe that's kind of a maybe an unspoken part of these types of relationships. Can you share with us maybe how you navigated some of your feelings through this, working so closely with your daughter?
Yeah, every so often when I do feel that guilt, I let her know. I do tell her.
Mm-hmm.
I tell her how I feel. I do tell her. There are times that I do apologize. I apologize that I'm sorry, mommy. Um, has you I don't have enough time to spend with you. What would you like to do together? And I try to allocate, and it's about that setting the boundaries, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
setting boundaries, and I set those boundaries when I hit burnout. I did hit
Mm-hmm.
a period of burnout, and I had a local community leader say, I was just waiting for that moment where you hit that burnout.
Mm-hmm.
And I did. And I didn't want anybody to know. But
Mm-hmm.
on, people closest to me knew how hard I was pushing forward. Once I hit that wall, it's almost as if you're paralyzed. Like you just can't,
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to get up in the morning. You just don't have that energy anymore. And I knew I needed to take some time, not just for myself but also for my daughter. And I told her, I asked her, what would you like to do?
Mm-hmm.
We took a trip to New York. It was a nice reset.
Mm-hmm.
We just got back from Hawaii. And those are the little things that we have to remember to do, that our work can wait.
Mm-hmm.
I think I had that guilt where I didn't want to pass up opportunities, especially as
Mm-hmm.
a single working mother and as a female. We don't want to pass up opportunities because we don't know when it will come around again.
Mm-hmm.
And I took on every opportunity I could, and I took her along for the ride to teach her the real world skills. But I also realized that I never stopped to ask her, "Are you burnt out?" I never asked
Mm-hmm.
Lana, my own daughter, "Are you burnt out from all this work?" And I'm glad that I took that time to go on a couple of vacations with her. Um, I let her plan the trips, and I paid for the flight. I paid for the hotel,
Mm-hmm.
and she booked everything. She did everything else as far as activities. So that was my way of letting her have a little bit of control as well
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in our relationship.
So in the article, you actually talk about allocation, and it kind of along these lines. Can you share a little bit about maybe during the work week, and obviously you're both working together. She's got school, but after school she's working with you. How do you allocate your time with her, not just in these kind of bulk moments, right? In these like one week long trips to Hawaii and
Mhm.
New York, but like maybe on a more consistent basis, maintaining that off work relationship with your daughter.
Yeah, so now she was doing virtual learning, and that was part of the reason why she was able to work with me from
Hmm.
home. And now that she's back in school in person, she started high school this week. And what we do is this week so far, she would go to class, finish, gets out, comes home, and she does her homework. She
Hmm.
does her homework immediately. She does her homework, and throughout the day, I do send her emails as to what needs to get done work wise,
Hmm.
and I let her decide how and when she completes her homework and her work.
Hmm.
Because I don't want to say, "Hey, finish your homework first." That's how it was for us as kids, right?
Yeah.
Finish
Yeah.
your homework first, then you can play.
Hmm.
But I let her
Hmm.
decide how she wants to allocate her own time. But
Hmm.
every night, I do make sure that we spend at least an hour together every day, just quality time together. I
Hmm.
mean, homework, she's very independent. She does it on her own. When it comes to work, I do have to supervise it a little bit. to make sure it's accurate before sending it off to our client. Um, but yes, every night, right before bedtime, it's 1 hour, at least 1 hour together. And
Hmm.
we went to go see the BTS concert in
Hmm.
April, and we were never BTS fans before. But now it's like we follow them, we watch videos together, and it's our way of spending time together. And if it's not that 1 hour watching BTS videos or music videos together, um, I do try to allocate at least an hour to go to dinner together, not home, because we do have a lot of meals at home, but I do try
Hmm.
to let her pick a restaurant. Where would you like to go once a week? Let's
Hmm.
get out of the house so that we can, um, just enjoy our time together. And another thing I also really enjoy is just being in the car side by side
Hmm.
and having a conversation with her because we're not looking at each other in the eye. There's no intimidation there where I'm the mother and she's a child. We
Right.
just sit right next to each other and just have conversation. And I love hearing, her insecurities, her fears, her concerns about being a high school student, or whether it's
Yeah.
friendships and especially virtual learning. She was home for 2 years, and
Yeah.
how do you begin to make friends, right, in high school? So
Yeah. Yeah. Making friends in high school hard enough in person,
yes.
and virtual is it makes it all more challenging. So I recently went on a you're talking about opportunities and trying to take on everything. I came back from a 3-day backpacking trip in
Mhm.
Yosemite recently, and after I went with the guide, and obviously after 3 days of like eating dehydrated food and you know 72 hours, you get to know people on a pretty intimate level. And one of the things that one of those things you hear all the time but doesn't really pop until maybe the third or fourth time. It's like, um, do you really need to respond to that email right away? Do you need to make that phone call right away? Most times, unless there's a life and death situation, you probably don't, right? And so I think it's a good reminder of, even as business owners, right? We kind of always want to strike where the iron's hot, and make the most of opportunities that are presented to us. But as parent business owners, and I think it's you kind of really made a really good point. Is like, you know you probably only have them for, I saw it go, you only have them for 18 summers, so 18 years, so to speak, right? And so how are we spending our time with the people uh, that matters to us the most, right? And we can give them our full attention in these time periods. um, I wanted to shift gears just slightly, because you did mention in the article the kind of the how your relationship grows while working with your daughter, right? It's not a normal employee employer relationship, and obviously, she's a minor, so there's kind of there's an authority hierarchy that's brought into this. Can you share a little bit about the benefits you've had, not just spending time, right? But it's and then not just learning real world stuff, but having your daughter on board working with you.
Yeah, I have to say, it's really rewarding to watch them grow.
Mm-hmm.
And when you give them that autonomy to execute, it's amazing. Sometimes I think, why didn't I have that like that skill set, at
Mm-hmm.
that young age?
Yeah.
She started working with me, gosh, few years already, and she amazes me how quickly she can get something done, or she'll
Yeah.
teach me something.
Mm-hmm.
We often use Canva to create our graphics,
Mm-hmm.
and she'll teach me shortcuts, and I'm like, oh, I didn't think of that, or I didn't know you even know that,
Yeah.
and just little skills. It's amazing because we think as parents we're supposed to teach them everything, but
Mm-hmm.
it's amazing what we learn from them. And yeah, I have to say that it's so rewarding to see them grow, to see their resume,
Mm-hmm.
to see them build
Yeah.
that resume. It's like that's
Mm-hmm.
pretty impressive.
I didn't have this when I was your age, right? Type of
No, I
thing.
look
And
at her resume now, and I'm so impressed. She
mm-hmm.
built her own website. Her just looking at her website, and sometimes I look at her resume, her hard copy resume, I just think, wow, that's pretty impressive, you know, and I am proud that she'll have a great head start, right,
Hmm.
in a career of her choice because she has this work experience under her belt.
Yeah. If you can, if you can sum it up in three points, what maybe things that you learned that most parents make? What the top three mistakes most parents make when working with their child?
Oh, one thing would be there's a tendency to hover over them, right, and and supervise. But I
Hmm.
think the autonomy was so important. I'm glad that I did that because you can always fix their mistakes afterwards,
Hmm.
or guide them after it. So I think it's giving them that autonomy, not to hover over them, um, but also to guide them. I think it's important
Hmm.
to guide, to not just blindly delegate a task to them and just let them figure it out, but it's just to give them a few points, like
Hmm.
this is how you started, or give them a starting point and let them run with it.
Hmm.
Um, third point. Third point is just to have fun. I think have
Hmm.
fun. I think it's so important to laugh. And if it was a mistake, you laugh about the mistake and you fix it. But if you don't have fun, then they won't have fun working with you anymore.
Hmm. Hmm. Hey, here I'm with Linda Nguyen, a mom and entrepreneur, talking about how to work with your own kids. You talk about learning, learning from your daughter. How would you say your management style has evolved over the last couple of years? Between first having brought her on and then today, how do you has there been any shift in you how you interact with her as her boss?
Yeah, and my shift is not just with her. It's she's taught me in general
Hmm.
that as a leader, like there's a difference between a manager and a leader, right?
Hmm.
And as a leader, you when you delegate, and as I mentioned earlier, give them a starting point. Don't just give them a task blindly and let them figure it out on their own. That would be very discouraging.
Hmm.
So I think I have evolved from a manager to a leader.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, because managing is oversight, having oversight on a project. Um,
Yeah.
is really much delegating and telling people how to do things. But it's also being a leader is also guiding as well because it's
Hmm.
also personal development. You want them to have that personal development.
Yeah. So it sounds a lot like, because I think oftentimes as a business owner, we kind of just like, hey, I have this issue, just solve it,
Yes.
right? And whether it's even your own child or even your new employee, it's unless they have previous experience in that particular task, it's hard for them to just kind of go and buy. So what I'm hearing is like it's really an investment of your time
Hmm.
pouring into that person so that the second time it's easier. The second, third time, they're not asking you so much. The fourth time or fifth time, now they can do it on their own.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. So we are getting near the end here. So, of course, this is called the Intentional Entrepreneur Podcast. So, I asked some rapid fire questions about your advice and your journey as an entrepreneur. And so, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So, who do you look up to?
Oh, community leaders in our local community.
All right.
They know who
Uh,
they are.
um, if you're a reader, what's the best business book you've ever read?
How to win friends and influence people.
That is a classic.
Yes.
What's the best business advice you've ever received?
Ooh. Oh, yes, I got one. Um, build relationships and not to be transactional.
Okay. All right. If you could do one thing over again, what would it be?
I don't have any regrets. I think everything led to all my mistakes led me to where I am today.
Okay. And what's the biggest challenge in your business today?
Biggest challenge is saying no to
Saying no.
opportunities.
All right, right. I was listening to a podcast and they interviewed Gary Vee,
Uh-huh.
and he asked us a very similar question. He says, "Have too many opportunities."
Hmm.
right? And most opportunists are entrepreneurs, and they want to say yes to everything, but they
Yes.
have to learn how to say no. All right, final question. Have you heard of the concept of 3 feet from gold?
No, I have not.
Okay, so the idea is, um, this guy he buys the plot of land and he gets all the equipment, right, to mine for gold, and he digs, and he doesn't hit gold. So he ends up selling his equipment to the next person, and that person digs only 3 feet and strikes gold. So my question is, how do you know when to pivot in your business, and how do you know when you're just 3 feet from gold?
Oh, instincts. It's that gut feeling. It's really your gut. Um, I've learned that at times where I wanted to give up, but pushed forward and it had that grit, that extra, whether it's an extra, you know, a month or whether it's 2 weeks or just having that patience. But that gut feeling in my heart or in your stomach, you just know it. I think really your instincts tells you when an opportunity is right and when an opportunity is wrong for you.
Mhm.
Um, I turned away from an opportunity that I absolutely loved, but I just knew it wasn't long term. It wasn't right for
Mhm.
me. And what you love currently, you have to look at the future as well.
Mhm.
You have to look at you know, the long road ahead and kind of envision, is this the same path you want to take? Um, and I've gone with my gut feeling, and I think every time I've been right when I listen to my gut.
All right, we have Linda Nguyen, community leader, entrepreneur, super mom here on the show. Thank you again so much for your time. I think this is a valuable and really important conversation to have with a lot of parent business owners, and how do we manage our relationship with our kids as they're working for us. So thank you so much for your time, and hopefully we'll talk again soon.
Thanks, Dan.